climate is changing, but what does that mean to us? For our homes and everyday life as we adapt to this greener, more efficient world. Last year, the UK became the first major economy in the world to pass laws to end our contribution to global warming by 2050, becoming completely net zero. It's one of the most ambitious targets. Net zero means any emissions we make have to be balanced with improving our atmosphere. We have a lot to do.
All new cars will need to be electric, all our homes will need to be decarbonised, removing any gas, coal and oil, and we'll need to expand our forests from covering 13% to 17% of the UK.
But at the forefront of this movement is us, the consumer. Households will be at the heart of a revolution in green heat innovation. With technologies like heat pumps and smart thermostats. As part of our journey into greener energy, I'll be meeting some of the early adopters of this fast-growing movement.
In the most simplistic way, it just gives me better control and better access.
This is a relatively straightforward measure that I can take to kind of reduce my carbon footprint.
We'll be hearing from a pioneering company that brings power to the people.
If we can get both cost saving and carbon saving to be aligned, we think that customers will adopt that in droves.
And we'll be visiting some groundbreaking renewable energy projects here in the UK. My name's Anthea Turner, and this is Hot Topics.
In this series, we look at hidden stories that have a big impact in the UK. And we meet real-life heroes who have first-hand experience. We'll be looking at questions like, can the UK remove all carbon emissions by 2050?
Are our pensions and life savings at risk? How can technology revolutionise our healthcare? And how does eating organic help the planet and our well-being?
Join me to find out more on the UK's biggest Hot Topics.
We all know we have a responsibility to our environment, but reducing our carbon is a daunting prospect. What's the easiest way to do it? We speak to an expert in environmental policy who has all the answers.
I'm speaking to Ros Bulliard from Green Alliance, an independent think tank and charity focused on ambitious leadership for the environment.
So let's just go over again what the UK has actually committed itself to.
The UK is committed, as of last summer, to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. And that means the amount of greenhouse gas we emit must be balanced by absorptions as well. So as a country overall, we're not emitting any greenhouse gas. If we're going for net zero in 2050, we need to do more still. And there are some bits of the economy that we definitely need to focus on more now. We've done a lot on electricity, but transport particularly and buildings and heat are kind of big challenges going forward.
We hear this word emissions, greenhouse gases. We can't see these gases. It's very confusing to know what we can do to make a difference.
There are quite a lot of things people can do in the rest of their lives. Transport will be a big thing, but there will be far more electric vehicles in the next 10, 15 years. The digitisation of our homes and how that relates to our electricity use will be a big thing. Fossil fuel heating will gradually over time be rarer, and we'll all need better insulated houses.
We now know we'll all have to make changes to help reduce our carbon footprint, but these changes can have a positive impact on our lives as well.
Actually, insulating your home will make it warmer, or deciding to walk will reconnect you with nature and improve your mental health. Having more public transport improves air quality, and we should all be healthier from that aspect. So a lot of these things are nice, could bring really nice changes to our lives. It really shouldn't be a sense of punishment. It should be about a more comfortable living environment. It's got to be part of the package too.
And do you think that the young people of today are going to be better than us and they're going to be leading the way?
It's depressing that we've come to this point, but I think it's really encouraging to see that kind of building sense of urgency in public life about climate change, and that really it's not a question of should we do this, but how quickly and when is now the big question.
In the last year, Voices for Change have become more and more vocal at campaigning to make a difference in environmental policy. With the new laws in place, time will tell if the UK is able to meet these goals. Coming up, we explore how smart home tech can make our houses better for the planet.
Not just helping me save money, but also reduce energy consumption.
We meet the company that's revolutionising home heating.
If we can get cost saving and carbon saving to be aligned, we think that customers will adopt that in droves.
And we get to see where our renewable energy comes from.
We started off just being a group of people who wanted to make a difference.
So how can we be part of this change? The answer may be easier than you think.
I'm here to meet John from Newbury to talk about his switch to a smart thermostat solution. Heating your home makes up over 60% of your energy bill. With a smart thermostat, you can control your home's heating from your smartphone and other digital devices. This doesn't sound like much, but by having access to your phone's location and weather information, suddenly the smart home possibilities get much more interesting. Just tell everybody, what is a smart thermostat?
In the most simplistic way, because I'm not a technical guy, but it just gives me better control and better access for reducing my heating within the home at the touch of a button.
And how difficult is it to put it into a house?
The installer came round. He was there for half an hour. It's a quick wiring job. And then your control panel, you can just put anywhere in your house. You can either stick it to the wall, screw it to the wall. And even I could do that, so that was fine. So on the smartphone, you've got the Taylor app, and that shows you what your current heating is within the house. So at the moment, it's on a nice 19.
Yeah.
And then you can turn it down.
Oh my goodness me, it's that easy.
It's that easy. There's geo-fencing as well. So when I leave the house and there's no one else in the house, it will detect that I've left the vicinity and it will turn my heating off. And then when I'm going back home, it will just turn it back on again.
Oh my goodness me, that's clever. And why did you decide to use Igloo?
When I was looking around at changing supplier, I wanted to find someone that had more of an emphasis on not just helping me to save money, but also helping me to reduce my energy consumption. So for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer. If everyone could just be a little bit more accountable, think about the future, and that for me is probably why I've been more conscious about saving energy, reducing our carbon footprint within the house.
Companies like Igloo are coming up with solutions to make our homes more heat efficient and, of course, greener. But what motivates them?
Matt and Duncan, co-founders here at Igloo, talk to us about their motivation behind the company and how they empower others to live a greener lifestyle.
2050, in terms of the target for zero carbon, is a really interesting one for us. People are always looking for that little bit that they can do themselves to decarbonise and have less of an impact on the environment. So we're trying to provide them the products and tools to do that.
Clearly, the greenest unit of energy is the one you don't use. And so if we can reduce that waste, that will have an immediate, meaningful impact on carbon emissions in this country. We strongly believe as a team that if we don't find a way as consumers and customers to really adopt this on a mass scale, the change from a small number of people isn't going to make the difference.
It's something that we all have a responsibility to do, and if that's within our power and control to do it, then absolutely we should.
What we like to try and do is empower customers to be able to make that one decision so that they know that what they're doing is the right thing for the environment and it's right for their pocket. If we can get both cost saving and carbon saving to be aligned, we think that customers will adopt that in droves.
Wow!
Coming up, We see what can happen when communities get together to initiate change.
It started off just being a group of people who wanted to make a difference.
How we can all do our bit with alternative heating solutions.
This is a relatively straightforward measure that I can take to kind of reduce my carbon footprint.
And we visit a school in London that's leading by example.
The kids today know about climate change and they know about air pollution.
80 to 90% of our homes in the UK are connected to the national grid, which supply natural gas as a fossil fuel. To reach net zero, we'll need to switch from this to renewable energy, such as solar and wind power. I've come to Westmill Wind Farm in Wiltshire to find out more.
Well, this is the first 100% community-owned onshore wind farm built in the southeast of England. And these wind turbines you can see behind me and these solar panels are not owned by a great big company. They are owned by locals, 2,260 of them. Can you harness the power of rain?
I'm chatting to Mike, who helps look after the site, to ask more about this local renewable energy hub.
So how does a wind farm work?
Well, a wind farm works by farming the wind. So when the wind blows, it generates electricity. The wind farm itself only takes up about 1% of the ground, and the rest of it is still the conventional farm.
So can you see wind farms helping farmers?
Yes, because the farmer gets an income from having the wind farm. So we get income from being paid for generating the electricity, and the farmer gets paid by us because we rent the land.
There are 5 turbines on this wind farm, creating on average 10.2 gigawatts of energy per year. Alongside the wind farm is an array of solar panels, so energy creation is maximised across the summer and winter months.
Wow!
See, this is quite fun. People like this.
Gosh, when you look up like that, and then just that noise that it makes,
Nice
which
whooshing.
isn't loud.
No.
It's just a nice whooshing. It's hypnotic. So how much energy does a farm like this create?
Over the year, on average, it's enough for the local villages. So it's enough for about 4,000 homes.
You have made a big effort to bring the community together in this project.
We started off just being a group of people who wanted to make a difference. We decided that we would group together, we would raise funds and we would produce a wind farm. We wanted this to be a community project, but we also do a lot of education here and we welcome people to come and visit.
Zero emissions by 2050. Is this possible?
I think it's a really big challenge. We all know we need to change and we need to do that pretty rapidly. And there are things that we need to do, and one of them is we need to get electricity from better sources.
Coming up, what are the challenges of going carbon neutral?
We've only got 30 years to do it, so we have to find some easy, quick wins.
How can we help make our homes better for the planet?
This is a relatively straightforward measure that I can take to kind of reduce my carbon footprint.
And we visit a primary school that's leading by example.
The outside learning thing is really important for all kids.
I'm sitting down with Professor Taja Reshan from University College London to discuss the changes we can expect to see in our homes as we head towards net zero emissions. The government says we're going to be carbon neutral by 2050. Scientifically, can we do this?
Yes, it is possible, and it's possible using technologies we already have. There are small adjustments that we could do to our lifestyle that could also help that. The challenging thing is not, as I say, the technologies, it's just how quickly we have to do it. The research that we're trying to do is really trying to help governments, business, and actually homeowners take the right decisions to result in the transition to a zero carbon future. So it's helping them plan what they're doing, and whether that's government in terms of strategically planning the policies that it will need to do, what impact will those policies have, down to individuals. What can an individual do in their particular house? What's the likely impact of that going to be?
In the UK, the 2 biggest demands on energy are transport and buildings, including schools, businesses, hospitals, but mostly our homes. This all equates to 2/3 of our total annual carbon emissions. But what technologies can have a meaningful impact on reducing this?
The big winners are two technologies in particular, which have a really big impact in terms of making things more efficient. One is heat pumps, and also moving to electric vehicles.
Can you explain exactly what a heat pump is?
Well, it's not a new technology at all. In effect, every fridge in your house is using the technology of a heat pump. A heat pump used to heat a house takes heat from outside, even during cold periods, upgrades that heat to warmer heat inside. It'll heat hot water for your bath, your shower, but it'll also heat hot water for your conventional radiators. And that is far more efficient than burning gas. And it's far more efficient than most electric heating systems that we currently use.
Part of the problem with our energy usage is waste, and smart technology can help to reduce this.
What we really need to be in is a situation where we're very quickly starting to reduce carbon emissions, because we've only got 30 years to do it. So we have to find some easy, quick wins. Replacing boilers is one of those possible easy wins.
Coming up, we take a look at the steps helping you towards net zero.
Not only the energy efficiency side of things, but also the money efficiency side of things. We can get a sense of that.
And we visit the primary school that's leading by example.
The outside learning thing is really important for all kids.
So just like smart thermostats, heat pumps could be crucial as we transition from fossil fuels. What's it like to have one in your home? Hello there.
Hello, Anthea.
Nice.
We're meeting Alistair, who's been living with a newly installed heat pump at his home in Winchester.
It looks like an air conditioning unit, doesn't it? So how does it work?
So the outdoor temperature just now is probably 7 or 8 degrees. So it's quite
It's
cold.
cold out.
What it does is it pulls in that heat that is in that 8 degrees. The unit compresses it, and then that compression turns it into heat that's enough to kind of heat up the house. Up to about 4 degrees, our oil supplies our heat, but when it hits about 4 degrees, then this kicks in. I guess there are a few factors in deciding to have one of these. So long-term cost, the opportunity to kind of put something in that's using renewable energy is kind of motivating from that perspective.
Do you feel you have more control over your heating now?
Absolutely. I mean, if I want to be really geeky about it, I can kind of log in and see exactly how much energy I'm using, and can see how much we're saving as well. So not only the energy efficiency side of things, but also the money efficiency side of things. We can get a sense of that.
I suppose for most of us, this is a different way of thinking from energy companies, because Igloo is trying to save you energy. But this is a completely different process, isn't it now?
Being with Igloo for a little while, you can realise that's kind of their philosophy, and this came as an opportunity to make my house much more efficient.
Bottom line is, how much does it cost to put something like this in?
The initial cost is quite a lot, so it's probably £8,000. But the government has a kind of a green deal that they will pay back somewhere around £1,200 a year over 7 years as an incentive to put one of these things in.
We're obviously all aware of what's going on now in the political world, and we've made this big statement about being net zero by 2050. Do you feel that this is playing a part for you and your family?
I'm sure in the years to come there'll be other measures that I can take, but for now this is a relatively straightforward measure that I can take to kind of reduce my carbon footprint.
80% of our homes are still going to be around in 2050, which means a lot of buildings are going to have to be retrofitted. That means that people like John and Alistair, who are early adopters, are actually really important to this country.
If households are to lead the way in decarbonising by getting off the gas grid and making homes more heat efficient, the UK will still face the fact that certain elements of industry cannot be decarbonised overnight. So to reach net zero by 2050, we'll need to offset this by planting more trees.
I'm here at Victoria Junior School in Feltham, where they have harnessed parent power to garden, plant trees and teach children about the environment.
Sideways and bounce.
Don't let it come up. Don't. Okay.
Hello there. Hi, Anthea.
Before I join in with the tree planting outside, I wanted to speak to Headmaster David Lee to find out more about the garden club here at Victoria Junior School.
So you'll meet Rob later, who is an ex-grandparent of the school, and he's just so enthusiastic about gardening that he's managed to cajole the rest of the school into really getting involved.
What do you feel as a school that they are actually learning from this?
They're seeing that the environment is so important. They're managing to grow their own plants that they then eat.
Would you say these are things that you can't learn in a textbook?
Absolutely. The more you actually get active in all kinds of learning, the more you're going to learn.
Well, thank you very much. I need to go and get my green fingers going. I love gardening. See you soon.
No, I don't think you I think I'm cold. There isn't a specific question of it. Look at that. Okay. All right, now, cross your fingers, guys. But look at that. Who dug this hole? He's a genius. I would make a hole. Exactly right. I could do this for a living.
What a fine tree.
Yes,
Congratulations.
Well, congratulations for the kids because it's their garden club and it's their school and they're keen to do it. It is definitely hands-on. It's the doing of it and the dirt in your fingers and smelling and hearing and touching. The outside learning thing is really important.
Why is it important to plant trees for the environment? And are you finding that it's not just childlike enthusiasm, that it really is going in and they really are now questioning the world that we live in?
The kids today know about climate change and they know about air pollution. And there's so much information about it.
1, 2, 3. I pronounce this tree and truly planted.
Okay, now I want you to give yourself all a big... Well done.
What a labour of love. Thank you very much. I need to go and see these Brussels sprouts now because
Okay, come and have a look.
I love a Brussels sprout.
It's heartening to see people right across the country embracing the need to address climate change. And it might be difficult, but I think what we're proving is if we all do a little bit, we can make a big difference.
Wow.